So the next book I'm going to share with you is called All the Places to Love. It kind of goes with our story when I was young in the mountains. And if I were able to read Sarah Plain and Tall, if school had not ended as it did, and Caleb's story, you would see how all of these kind of connected with just the places that we love to be. And so this is called All the Places to Love. And it's by Patricia McLaughlin. And she is the same author for Sarah Plain and Tall, Caleb's story, and that whole series, along with other books that you may be interested in as well. And what I love about this is usually, we'll have author and illustrator, right? And I'll tell the illustrations involved. Well, this time, instead of illustrations, it says paintings by Mike Wimmer. So I find that to be just a little bit different and interesting. And if you look here, what do you notice? Yeah, probably also in a setting that's rural. It's out in the country. We can kind of see some farms right here and some different landscapes. And so you know that this is not taking place in the city, just like Caleb's story, Sarah Plain and Tall, and When I Was Young in the Mountains. So also with all the books, I hope you enjoy. One day, let me see if I can move this a little. One day I was born. My grandmother, let me start again. On the day I was born, my grandmother wrapped me in a blanket made from the wool of her sheep. Isn't that wonderful? So the blanket was made from the wool of the sheep on the farm. That's interesting. In this picture, this painting illustration, we can actually see their farm from here. And it makes me wonder if that is like the farms that we see here, if maybe they own one of these farms in the front and the back of the book on the cover. It's pretty interesting. Okay, here's the next picture. Sorry, this is so wobbly. I'm having trouble with the hardback books. Isn't that pretty? Do you notice the quilt? Do any of you or your moms or grandmothers have quilts like this? I know at my grandmother's house, there were lots of them. What great memories. She held me up in the open window so that what I heard first was the wind. What I saw first were all the places to love. The valley, the river falling down over the rocks, the hilltop where the blackberries grew. So the grandmother wanted this baby, him or her, we don't know yet, to see all the places that they could love in their home. Isn't that precious? My grandfather was painting the barn, and when he saw me, he cried. He carved my name. We're going to find out, is this a little boy or a little girl? What's the name? Here we go. Eli. We have an Eli in our class, don't we? On a rafter beside his name, and grandmother's name, and the names of my papa and mama. So the grandfather had carved Eli's name, the baby, in the rafters of the barn right beside other people in their family. His name is grandmother's name and the parents' name. Let's take a look at that. Do you see it? Do you see Eli there? Mama carried me on her shoulders before I could walk through the meadows and hayfields. The cows watched us and the sheep scattered. The dogs ran ahead, looking back with sly smiles. When the grass was high, only their tails showed. Isn't that beautiful? Those wild flowers. Now look, here's a little painting, a picture of how the wild flowers were turned into a bouquet, right? Do you guys see that? Isn't that beautiful? I think I would love to visit that farm. When I was older, Papa and I plowed the fields. Where else is soil so sweet, he said. Once Papa and I lay down in the field holding hands, and the birds surrounded us. Raucous black grackles, red wings, crows in the dirt that swaggered like pirates. When we left, Papa put a handful of dirt in his pocket. I did too. Oh, what a loving family. So nice that they all get to live together, right? My grandmother loved the river best of all the places to love. The sound like a whisper, she said, gathering in pools where trout flashed like jewels in the sunlight. Grandmother sailed little bark boats downriver to me with messages. I love you, Eli, one said. We jumped from rock to rock to rock, across the river to where the woods began, where bunchberry grew under the pine needle path and trillium bloomed. Under the beech tree was a soft, rounded bed where a deer had slept. The bed was warm when I touched it. So look, that's what that picture was, where the deer slept. So the illustrator put this picture in to help us understand more about where the deer slept. Oh my goodness, look at him jumping from rock to rock to rock. Oh, what a beautiful, beautiful picture. These illustrations are just absolutely lovely. So based on the illustrations, what do you think we're going to read about next? Let's see. When spring rains came and the meadow turned to marsh, cattails stood like guards and killdeers called, ducks nested by marsh marigolds, and the old turtle, his shell all worn, no matter how slow, still surprised me. See that? Have you seen cattails before? Whenever maybe you've gone to some wetlands, have you noticed that? They're absolutely beautiful in person. What could this illustration be showing? Why does he have a chair on his head and they have a bucket and a basket? That's silly. Why would he have that on his head? Look at this picture. What do you think they're about to do? Sometimes we climbed to the place Mama loved best, with our blueberry buckets and a chair for my grandmother. To the blueberry barren where no trees grew, the sky an arm lengths away, where marsh hawks skimmed over the land and bears came to eat fruit, and wild turkeys left footprints for us to find, like messages. Where else, said my mama, can I see the sun rise on one side and the sun set on the other? I used to pick blackberries when I was a little girl visiting my family in Jasper, Tennessee, and we just absolutely loved it. Have you ever picked blackberries or strawberries or blueberries with your family? And we see a cow. My grandfather's barn is sweet smelling and dark and cool. Leather harnesses hang like paintings against old wood, and hay dust floats like gold in the air. Grandfather once lived in the city, and once he lived by the sea. But the barn is the place he loves most. Where else, he says, can the soft sound of cows chewing make all the difference in the world? They're out in the barn. Wonder what they're doing sitting in the barn looking back at the beautiful white farmhouse. I think I have a hint. What do you think is happening? Look at the front of the page. See if we can make an even better inference. Based on what we know and what we're seeing in the text, we can make a pretty good inference, right? Today we wait, him sitting on a wooden slate chair and me on the hay. Until much later, my grandmother holds up a small bundle in the open window. Wrapped in a blanket made from the wool of her sheep, and my grandfather cries. So we're inferring what these pictures are about based on the front of the book or the cover of the book, and based on some clues given by the pictures. And so from all of these inferences we make, we can also make a prediction about what we think is going to happen, an educated guess, what we believe has just happened. And what do you think that is? Together, we carve the name Sylvie in the rafter beside the names of grandfather and grandmother and my mama and papa and me. My sister is born. Here's her name in the rafter. Excuse me. Oh, how exciting. Someday I might live in the city. Someday I might live in the sea, like his grandfather, right? But soon I will carry Sylvie on my shoulders through the fields, like his mom did with him. I will send her messages down a river in small boats, like grandmother, right? I will watch her at the top of the hill, trying to touch the sky. I will show her my favorite place, the marsh, where ducklings follow their mother like tiny tumbles of leaves. I hope you enjoyed this story and When I Was Young in the Mountains. And it helps you maybe think about the places that you love most about your home. It doesn't mean that you're going to live there forever, but we all can just create these wonderful memories about the places that we love while growing up. And maybe you can add that to a journal about all the places that you love, about your home and the people that share it with you. I hope you enjoyed this story as much as I do. And continue to watch for Story Time with Miss Christy. Bye-bye, guys.